We both know that as dangerous as the actions of the Trump administration are, the message that they're pushing is equally so. The lies that Donald Trump and Elon Musk want you to believe about the government, claiming that it's all broken and completely dysfunctional, is a part of their larger plan, as we see with Doge, to rip it apart so they can give larger tax cuts to their billionaire buddies. This is what they want to convince you of, and we cannot let them do it. And surprisingly so, on the side of combating these lies that Elon Musk is pushing is Joe Rogan, who completely flipped on Elon, his good buddy, and called him out for his lies about Social Security. Yes, Social Security, in a clip that is going mega viral, and we are going to check out. But before we do, if I could quickly ask you to leave a like on this video, and if you haven't already and you enjoy our channel, to hit that subscribe button. It goes a long way, and it really does mean a lot to me. Now, before we get into that Rogan clip, of course, I want to hear the lie that Elon and Donald Trump have been pushing about Social Security right here.
But when I saw the Social Security numbers, I said, wow, that's really something. So we have, let's just go above 100 years old. We have millions and millions of people over 100 years old. Everybody knows that's not so. We have a very corrupt country, and it's a sad thing to say, but we're figuring it out.
As we know, this is just a completely false claim that there's tens of millions of 150-year-olds collecting their Social Security checks. It is just completely false. It's not true. It is a lie that Elon posted on Twitter and said, oh, this is so concerning. Look at where your tax dollars are going. And of course, we know the implication there is what else could be wrong with Social Security? Maybe should we just do away with it entirely? And that is why Donald Trump continues to bring this up. Elon Musk continues to bring up this lie, saying that there's dead people by the tens of millions receiving checks, and we have to combat it. And before we get into Rogan, someone who made that point so perfectly was Bernie Sanders, and I want to check it out right here.
On the Elon Musk front, when it comes to Social Security payments and what is actually wrong with government and what's exaggerated, we're hearing this line from the White House that tens of millions of people are getting Social Security fraudulently. Either they're dead or...
Yeah, I don't believe that for a second.
We've gotten no evidence of it, but I looked into this, and what we do know is that there's a lot of people that still remain in the database, but as far as people who are actually getting payments, it was 44,000 who got payments according to an audit that was done in 2023.
Out of how many millions?
There's tens of millions. So when they say tens of millions, that would be
this is what we are dealing with.
Security.
We're not only dealing with oligarchy, the incredible power of the very, very rich. We're not only dealing with a move toward authoritarianism, we're dealing with what is new to America. You know, politicians have always lied, nothing new about that. But the level that we're seeing right now, the big lie, over and over again, and it goes out, there's a big lie, and then it goes out on Musk's Twitter to, several hundred million people, repeated over and over again. And now the word is out there, oh, people on Social Security, 150 years of age. Can you believe it? The whole thing is corrupt. It's broken. Well, where does that lead you, Caitlin? What's the next step? If government can't do anything, if Social Security doesn't work, if Medicare doesn't work, if Medicaid doesn't work, we're going to get rid of all of those programs, and we're going to give it over to the billionaire class to run it.
That's what you think they're ultimately trying to do?
Yeah, at the end of the day, not only do they,
Social Security.
they want massive cuts to programs for the working class in this country in order to give tax breaks to the very rich, and then they want to move to the privatization of every important government agency.
It is a slippery slope that they want to take us down from saying, well, we see dysfunction here, we see that there are problems there, and sure, there is, and I hate saying this because we don't need to, waste, fraud, and abuse in the government, sure, but Elon Musk doesn't actually care about going after it. If he did, he wouldn't have let Donald Trump fire those inspector generals. He wouldn't be getting rid of IRS agents who make sure that we actually bring in revenue to the government. He wouldn't be doing that. He is lying, and even Joe Rogan knows it, who, like I said, called him out right here.
Now they're talking about Social Security.
Yeah.
And that people are receiving Social Security that are 150 years old. But I don't think that is the reality as it's being explained by people who understand COBOL, the language and this computer programming language that they use is ancient, right? Which is kind of crazy that they're still using that, right?
It's the government. I mean,
right.
Yeah.
So some guy who understands it was explaining that if certain factors aren't taken into consideration or certain things aren't entered in, like date of birth or when there's certain things
or date of death, or,
right? But it doesn't even necessarily mean that all these people are receiving checks,
right? They're just listed on the files,
right?
And it doesn't mean money's going out to them. And so, again, from a messaging perspective, does Elon need to screenshot that and then send it out as a tweet or whatever we call X nowadays, and then suddenly you've got a couple million people going, oh my God, we're paying dead people. Well,
right. That's the problem with being hyperbolic.
When even your buddy Joe Rogan will not defend you, Elon, you've kind of crossed a line here. We know the lie that he is trying to push, and we understand its purpose. This is what we have been talking about and calling out so much. If they can just get you to believe that there are enough aspects of government that don't work, they can try to get rid of all of it. It is a war on expertise, and it's the reason why Donald Trump is trying to create so much chaos in the agencies he wants to get rid of. They know that they can only fire so many people because there are civil service and protections in place for many federal workers that prevent Donald Trump from just doing his mass purges. But if they can create chaos in those agencies, if they can get people to quit and leave, if they can make people feel intimidated. It was Russ Vought, who is the director of the OMB, who wrote Project 2025, who explicitly said, we want federal workers to feel traumatized when they come into work. They want it to be dysfunctional. They want government not to work. That is what conservatives do. That is what Republicans do. They say government can't work. They claim to hate it, all while running for public office to get in government and try to break it so they can prove their point. And we cannot let them prove that point. And once again, the person who made this case so masterfully was Bernie Sanders right here.
I think the main political point is that we should not forget that in the House of Representatives today, the Republicans have a 3-vote majority. That's all. And if we could turn 2 Republicans around to vote no, for example, against massive tax breaks for billionaires while they cut Medicaid and education and vitally important programs for working people, we can make a huge dent in the Trump agenda. So right now, what I am focusing on, Ali, is getting out to districts around the country where Republicans won by slim margins, inform the people there what's at stake, and urge them to have their members do the right thing and vote no on the so-called reconciliation bill.
All right, so to anybody who's out there who's watching, who might be a Democrat, who might have voted for Donald Trump, might be a Republican, might be a moderate, what's the message? Because in broad strokes, when Doge was first floated, and it was Vivek Ramaswamy, and it was Elon Musk, and they were going to find waste, fraud, and whatever it is in government, in broad strokes, that appeals to people, because we'd all like to have lower taxes and not have any waste. What do you say to people like that, to say, this isn't actually what you were promised?
All right, this is what we say. Is there waste and bureaucracy and fraud within the federal government? Absolutely there is. Should we do our best to get rid of it? Absolutely. But number one, keep in mind what these guys really want to do when they go after Social Security, when they go after various federal programs. At the end of the day, Ali, not tomorrow, but at the end of the day, what they want to make the case to the American people, the whole government stinks. Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, all of these programs that help you, they're terrible. And the way forward is to privatize them. You don't need a Veterans Administration. We'll let the private sector and the hospitals take care of our veterans. That is their end game. But right now, what I think we have got to make clear is that when you are throwing 1,000 workers out of the Veterans Administration, scientists out of the NIH, you are harming the well-being of the American people. And as you've indicated, you have the richest guy in the world elected by nobody who is doing that. So that, I think, is what we've got to be focusing on.
Do you think, because you're saying we only have to turn 3 districts, there are the places that are up for special election right now are pretty safe Republican districts. You are talking about telling people not to change necessarily their political ideology, but to understand the importance of structure in your government that is there to work for you.
Ali, there are very few people in this country who think that at a time of massive income and wealth inequality, you know, when 3 people own more wealth than the bottom half of American society, that billionaires need a huge tax break. Nobody believes that. And at the same time, in order to pay for that tax break, what Trump and the Republican leadership are talking about are horrific cuts to Medicaid, education, housing, and programs that working class people in this country desperately need. The overwhelming majority of the American people do not support that agenda. And our job is to educate, to organize, to put a special emphasis on those swing districts and force Republicans to do the right thing and vote no on that proposal.
You just mentioned Medicaid. Donald Trump said last night he doesn't support any cuts to Medicaid, and then today he tweets out that he supports the House Republican budget, which actually includes cuts to Medicaid. At what point, what are the things
massive cuts.
Massive cuts. And so what point do people register, hey, this isn't an abstraction about big government, this is actually about my life?
Well, that is precisely what we have got to do. And when you talk about Medicaid, people may say, middle-class people may say, hey, well, you know, that's too bad. Doesn't impact me. That's just poor people. Truth is that Medicaid not only provides health care to millions and millions of children, 40% of the community, of the revenue for community health centers, which provide health care to 30 million people, including many people watching this program, guess what? You cut Medicaid, you're going to make it very difficult for community health centers to do their job. You got a mother or dad who is in a nursing home, guess what? 2 out of 3 people in nursing homes get supported by Medicaid. At a time when our healthcare system today is in deep distress, it is a broken system, massive cuts to Medicaid will cripple it. It'll raise hospital bills. It'll be a disaster for virtually all Americans.
We know what their plan is, and it is our job to combat it. I have loved seeing all these town halls with these miserable Republican members of Congress trying to defend the awful and dangerous moves that Elon has made. And their constituents, Democrats, independents, Republicans, apolitical people alike, who are realizing they are waking up to what Donald Trump's America actually is, where they don't have the programs in their communities that they need to live, to eat, to work, to feel comfortable sleeping at night. It's like, yeah, this is what Donald Trump's America looks like. I love those town halls when Republicans are being mercilessly booed. Play that everywhere. I want more of it. Push back every chance you get. Please uplift these stories. That's what we have to be doing. That's what I want to see more Democrats in Congress doing. I am so excited that Bernie Sanders is out on the road. He is talking to people in Trump districts about what is going on because they are the people most affected. It's time to broaden our coalition. It's time to call this stuff out. I'm fired up. If Joe Rogan's going to be on our side, go for it. If he wants to call out Elon, welcome to the coalition. We certainly are going to be doing it as well. And if you want to support that, as always, you can hit that subscribe button. You can leave a like on this video. And if you stuck around at the end, you can drop a blue heart in the comments. And until next time, I'll see you soon.